guys, I'm Miss Mila Rose and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am picking up my Storytime series and I'm going to give you a brief recap on what happened last episode before I get into this episode. So last episode I left you off with the planning with my friend Brittany to travel to Vancouver to check out my school that I would be attending in the following fall. The plan was to travel during winter break and we wanted to save money because we were high school students who didn't exactly have steady incomes. So what we decided to do, since her friend's family did like the whole truck driving stuff, they did loads back and forth between Vancouver and sometimes in the United States with food produce like cherries and etc. We planned a day that I believe her father and her uncle were going to do a load. They weren't going as far as Vancouver. I think they were doing a load to Edmonton. So we weren't gonna be able to get a free ride all the way there. So what we ended up doing is getting Greyhound tickets in Edmonton and then getting to Vancouver after our Greyhound trip. It was a 3-day trip, by the way, since we were traveling by vehicle. 2 full days in the truck and then I want to say like 9 hours on the Greyhound. And no, there was to be no showering at all during this entire trip. We did have flights booked and planned for the return travel, and that was the first time I have ever experienced flying in a plane. So that was the plan. So we set off and I know that the truck is going to be incredibly boring. I'm going to be bored beyond belief. So of course, what would any logical person do? Try to figure out anything possible to bring along to keep from boredom. I had a Nintendo DS that I brought with me and I also brought, I think, like a notebook and maybe a sketchbook. Yes, I did draw a picture too while I was in the truck. I did play some games on the DS and I also did some journaling and stuff. I tried my best, and I think Brittany did as well, to sleep as much of the trip as possible because it was just so boring. I think I did sleep most of the trip in this truck. We did make some stops at gas stations that were specifically for truck drivers. They did have their own showers and restrooms that they could use. That was the first time that I even knew that that was a thing. So that was pretty cool, but we couldn't use them because we were not truck drivers. We didn't have like the ID cards and things like that. So we stopped for fast food here and there, used bathroom stops where we could. There was one instance where we needed to go to the bathroom so bad, both of us. And the nearest restroom wasn't for like another, I don't even know, like it was not anywhere close. And it was like very late at night too. So what we ended up doing is we pulled over on the highway. There was like no vehicles. I want to say we were passing the border of Ontario going towards the west. And my friend and I, we had like Wendy's napkins from like eating out at Wendy's at one of the gas stations, and we used those ones. We went under the truck and we both peed under the truck together, like no like privacy, no nothing, like just going under the truck. And I remember being like so like, oh my god, like I can't believe I'm doing this, but like I have to go. And she had to go so badly too, so she's like, I'm peeing, and I'm just like, okay, here we go, like let's just get this over and done with. Like we are breaching any remaining barriers between us in terms of privacy, like that's just going out the window right now. So I peed with a friend. Genuinely, I couldn't see her. I don't think she could see me, and we both just had to go so badly. So that happened. And yeah, that was quite the experience. We got back into the truck. We continued our way to Edmonton, and not very eventful. We got to Edmonton. We figured out the Greyhound situation. I remember seeing like a lot of like police officers with like dogs, like the drug searching dogs, that they were like walking around trying to like sniff luggages and stuff like that to see if like anyone was like trying to smuggle drugs or anything. I don't know. It was interesting. And we got onto our Greyhound. There was a few like younger boys around our age sitting like, I want to say in front of us or behind us or across from us. I don't remember, but like very close to us. And I remember like my friend Brittany was sleeping predominantly like she was out the entire trip on the Greyhound, and I could not sleep. I felt really sketch on that Greyhound. There's like people behind me. One lady in particular, I'm like, oh my God, like this lady seems like a little like sketch, a little off. So I was a little bit alert. And then the guys, I heard them like whispering like how they want to like poke us or like mess with us. And like, dude, like I was in no position to want to socialize with anyone at that time. I stunk. My hair was so greasy. Again, like neither of us had showered in like 2.5 days. So we felt disgusting. Like we just wanted to get to our hotel. I think we had an Airbnb and we just wanted to shower. So my friend slept the whole way. I was up the entire way. We did have a pit stop where everyone on the Greyhound could and were like encouraged to get out. And there was like a little like bathroom break place. You could buy snacks, you could have a cigarette break, like whatever it is like you wanted to do. Like there was like a stop that they did for everyone. And I do remember my friend Brittany was awake for that and we got out that time, but that was pretty much it. I remember getting into Vancouver. There was like, we got in like towards like nighttime. It was still like really dark at night. So there was a bunch of like lights and it was just really pretty. I just remember it being very, very beautiful, like getting closer to Vancouver. Like it was a very pretty sight, just seeing all the lights. I don't even know how else to explain it. I didn't take any pictures. I have this memory. It was really pretty. When we finally got to Vancouver, I remember it being very rainy. And I remember both of us thinking to ourselves, we didn't pick the best days to come since it seems to be raining right now. Well, actually, when you're in Vancouver, it kind of rains every day all the time, unless you're in like the 2 months of summer where there's no rain. You know? And so we navigated in the rain to find our Airbnb, got to an Airbnb, we showered, we got ourselves food, I don't remember what we ate, and I think we walked around outside for a bit. I think we did stop by like a fast food restaurant to grab a bite to eat. And I think we needed like a couple essentials, so we hit up like a little mini like convenience store. Oh, not like a convenience store, but like pharmacy, Walgreens-esque. I can't remember the name of the store, but something like that. And then we went back to our Airbnb. We watched a little bit of TV, and I remember my friend Brittany was still so tired. She like conked out. She's like, I'm so tired, I'm gonna fall asleep. And then like I was having a conversation with her, and she just conked out like the moment she was like, I'm gonna fall asleep. Like she was conked, and I was like, damn. I envy her ability to fall asleep so fast, because I don't know how often or if at all I've said it in my story times, but I do struggle falling asleep. But something I've always struggled with. However, when I was like living at home in my childhood house, I remember that was like such a huge struggle of mine. Like it was so hard for me to sleep. It was so hard. And oftentimes I would just be crying for hours, and then my nose would get stuffy or my nose would start hurting and burning, and so I wouldn't be able to sleep even if I was done crying, and then I would cry again, and like every single night. Yeah, I couldn't sleep. And even if like I wasn't crying, like I was still having difficulty sleeping. Like it was bad. I definitely got better over the years, but it's something like I've had to like be diligent about trying to figure out what worked for me. I remember back then the whole like progressive body relaxation really worked for me, and that's something that I figured out how to do by myself, and it really worked well. Eventually, for whatever reason, that technique stopped really working for me, but I don't really need to do too much now to fall asleep. I think I'm just in a much more stable and calmer place in my life, so I can sleep much easier than I used to. I don't remember how many days we stayed in Vancouver. It couldn't have been very many days. It might have been 2 or 3. I remember the next day we went to my school. I checked it out. I had someone showing me around. And it was just a building. It was just like a tower. It had a few floors that were specifically for my school, and there was other floors that were for different classes of the same, I think the same school, but different programs. Like they had like fashion design, they had interior decor, they had game design, and then the one that I was in, 3D animation and modeling. So as far as our Vancouver journey went, like it was very eventful in the form of like 3-day Greyhound travel, first time on a plane, traveling with a friend across country. Like I literally had never traveled outside of the province before, so that was kind of crazy in and of itself. And even then when I did travel farther distances like Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie, my grandmother's side of the family lived in Sault Ste. Marie and my father's side of the family lived in Sudbury area. That was traveling with my family. I'd never traveled with friends or anything like that, so it was fun. It was quite the journey, and it was just the independence of it all. It felt really good. Like I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely an experience I will never forget. Even though like we really didn't do too much in Vancouver, like I know like we went around, we explored, we saw the school, we tried different foods, and we just had a great time. I think both just having the experience of traveling together to a new place outside the province. I think that's really what the whole excitement over it really was. We didn't really do anything crazy. So the plan after our Vancouver travel experience was to go back to Toronto, and my friend Brittany and her family were hosting this party. It was a very Serbian-esque party. I can't exactly remember the specifics. And all of like their family and friends would come over, get together, and they would eat lots of food, dance. I think some of the adults were drinking, just overall have a great time, socialize. It's an excuse for the whole family to get together. And I didn't realize just how many Serbians there were in Toronto, because there's a lot of people, cousins, uncles, nephews, nieces, aunts, you name it. Like there's so many people at this party, and let me tell you, the food was divine. We took a plane flight. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. We spent at least one day before we left Vancouver shopping, because we, specifically Brittany, really wanted a very nice outfit for this party, and I wanted one too because I'd never had to really dress up. Well, the last time I had dressed up was at my cousin's wedding, but that was like years ago. I was like 7, 10, I don't know, years old. I was a child. My mom had handmade me a dress because we were poor, and she was like, oh, I'm gonna make this dress. And I remember getting shoes and painting my nails pink, and that's all I remember. But aside from that, like I didn't really dress up. I wore casual clothing. I didn't even know how to dress up like well. So Brittany and I went shopping, and we were picking out an outfit to wear at this party. The whole shebang, shoes, dress. I think it was the first time I might have worn high heels, unless they were ballet flats, I don't remember. During this time of my life, I did start wearing a lot of ballet flats. They were not very expensive. They were very cheap. Yeah, I think that they looked a little cuter, but I didn't have a heel on them, so they were much easier to wear. I don't wear ballet flats anymore because I walk a lot usually, and ballet flats like rub against the heel and cause blisters for me there, so I don't wear ballet flats anymore. So that's what we did the last day we were in Vancouver. We took an afternoon flight. It was a 6-hour flight. It's always about a 6-hour flight, direct flight from Vancouver to Toronto. We get back, we go to the party in the evening, eating delicious food. We're watching people dance and party and have a great time. The host of the party was Brittany's family, specifically the mother and the mother's family. And since I was a part of that direct family, I was helping with things like the setup, doing dishes, things like that. I wanted to help as much as I could. I didn't completely understand like the system. They had like a very specific system. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of food, especially to have cooked in a small apartment. Like the apartment was not that big. It was like a 3-bedroom apartment, but it still wasn't that big. I remember while I was at this party, I noticed this one guy, and I was like, oh, who is that? And my friend Brittany told me that that was her cousin that I was eyeing down. Kind of like developing a little bit of a crush, but not really, just like, who is that? I was like, oh, that's your cousin. And then I got really kind of like embarrassed and shy about the fact that I just kind of like hit on or like said I liked her cousin, but she actually really played into it, like almost like she was trying to hook us up. Never happened. There's plenty of encounters and almost like circumstances where she's like trying to get us to like come together kind of thing. Never happened. Honestly, like this guy ended up getting like a whole like mohawk look and everything. I'm just like, this guy is weird. Like I was interested when I first saw this guy, no longer interested. But anyway, that concludes the whole Vancouver and Serbian party experience that I had. So many experiences so quick back to back that I never experienced before. It was a great time. I had a blast. And I will say, like at the very beginning when the family came back from Serbia and we're living in this apartment again, like I was so like nervous and awkward, and like I felt so weird about living in someone else's house essentially. Like yes, I was really close to my friend Brittany, but like I didn't know her sister-in-law, I didn't know her father, her brother, her mother, her sister. I think over the course of the summer break, getting to know her older sister, and then over the course of the fall semester, getting to know the rest of her family, like I really started to feel a little bit more comfortable. Still felt like really awkward and like very much like I had to do my best to participate, to clean, to do as much as I could, because at the end of the day, like I was a freeloader living with them and stuff. I highly appreciated like them taking me in and giving me like such like a warm, like I know their family has lots of problems. Like my friend would tell me all the time, like, oh, my aunt this, my cousin that, there's drama here, there's drama there. And I always kind of laugh at it because I'm like, that sounds so normal to me. Like that sounds so normal, and the way you navigate it, it just feels like so normal versus like what I grew up with. And so it really gave me like an experience that I will never forget, living with their family, that I felt like I got to experience a real family and the real family dynamic and be a part of that, even though if it was only for like, I don't know, a year and a bit, I think it was. But yeah, it was a really good time. And I definitely felt very loved, even though I didn't want it, because I'm like, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to take up space. I don't want to be here because I feel like I'm a burden and taking up space, but at the same time, I'm incredibly grateful that you are providing me with all this. I am rambling. I'm going to cut this story here just because it covers a good chunk of stuff. In the next episode, I am going to be talking about my spring, my second semester, and also going to Montreal with my friend Brittany. Of course, we have a second adventure there, and I will be covering graduation, and I'm very excited. It was a good time, but there was some ups and downs towards the end of that chunk of story. So I'm gonna go ahead and end today's story time today right here, and I'll see you next time with my next story time episode. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you found it exciting, interesting, or anything like that, please give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe down below, turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss my next YouTube video coming up very soon for my next story time episode. Bye, until next time.